Welcome everybody. Welcome to Making Money in the Market with VectorVest. My name's Russell Markham. Let's put my camera on so you can see me. My name's Russell Markham. I'm the Director of Education for VectorVest Australia. And it's my pleasure to have you today. Today's all about how do we make good money in the markets. I use this very powerful bit of software, VectorVest. I'm going to show you some very powerful, interesting techniques today. If you've missed out on the last 2 weeks, go and have a look at those replays there on the VectorVest Australia YouTube channel. If you're into your dividends and franking credits, last week was superb. We really drilled into finding those top stocks paying very attractive, fully grossed up dividend yields. But today, we're going to take a slightly different approach. I'm going to be a little bit more aggressive today. So if you're more of an aggressive type investor, this is all for you today. And now, of course, if you're more conservative, have a look, because I'm going to limit the stocks to stocks only on the ASX 200. So I'm not going to go and buy some penny horror 1 cent share and show you how it magically went up to $10, because the likelihood of us actually doing that is slim to none. I think most of us, it's fair to say, we're probably comfortable looking at $1 or more stocks. So today I will ensure it's at least $1 or more. How about that? All right. With that said, let's jump back into the slide sets there. Just jumping over here. Before we get going today, please note our license numbers. In addition, please note, there we are. Actually, I took that slide out, but that doesn't matter. I will note it to you. Please note, general advice only. I cannot take into account your personal financial circumstances. Please speak to your financial advisor for personal advice. And as always, past performance is no guarantee of future results. All right, so as long as we're all clear with that, let's jump in and get going today. All right, and just before I get going here, a few of you have reached out, and if you ever needed to contact us for whatever reason, please note there is my email address. You are most welcome, of course, to send us an email. All right, with that said, let's get going. I'm going to jump out of here, and I'll go back to one slide here. Today I want to talk about a very powerful indicator in VectorVest. It's called relative timing. All right, so there's this powerful indicator in VectorVest called relative timing, and it looks at the short-term price momentum taking place for a stock. All right, so it's a short-term price trend. It looks at the direction, the magnitude, the dynamics of price history. They're all used to calculate the movement of the stock. What we want to do as investors is we want to go and find, let's just transition myself across just for a second there. What we want to do as investors, we want to go and pick on those stocks with the momentum shooting up. Because at the end of the day, if you can pick on a stock that's moving up price, you're going to make money. Now, we would also like to make sure that the fundamentals stack up as well. Put the two together, make sure that the market's rising, and then go up in the market. So you've got fundamentals, you've got technicals, and you've got the market moving in your favor. For today, I'm going to concentrate heavily on technical momentum, and also I'm going to make sure that the market has got momentum. All right, so as long as you're okay with that, I will take a closer look at the fundamentals, but more of the emphasis today is going to be on the technical movement. All right, so with that said, I'm going to close out of here. We have this very powerful tool in VectorVest called market timing. It's arguably the most powerful part of VectorVest, market timing. Sure, we do brilliant fundamental analysis, brilliant technical analysis, but let me tell you something. Top fundamental and technical analysis often comes heavily undone if the market is falling. And so many years ago, as an investor, fundamental investor, I'd crunch out huge Excel spreadsheets, calculating out the net present value and the future cash flows and all those sort of things that analysts do. But one major thing I wasn't looking at and I had no appreciation for was market timing. So for example, if I'm looking for top fundamental and technical stocks in the market on average, so this VVC, this is the VectorVest composite, it tracks the average of all the stocks, ETFs, LICs, REITs, you name it. If the market's falling away, and let's just keep it nice and neat to begin with, I'll take this one off. If the market on average is falling away like it was here, so where was this? February of 2025 all the way through until recently in April of 2025, you could have picked some of the best fundamental and technical analysis type stocks money can buy, but chances are you were under a fair bit of pressure. Conversely, you could have picked on some pretty mediocre stocks after around about mid to late April, and you probably find that a lot of those stocks just went up just by default because the market was going up. And so then the question then is, what if you picked on some really good quality stocks while the market was going up? Now you have a very good chance of making money. So what we do here at VectorVest is we have different market timing signals, and for today I'm going to be conservative, despite the fact I'm going to be slightly aggressive on my stock picks. But I'm going to take a conservative entry point into the market. And so this signal here is our most conservative signal. It's used by a lot of our retiree investors. It's known as the confirmed calls. So the confirmed call is a very conservative timing signal. And so when it lights up, we pay attention. It's telling us that the market is turning to the upside. Conversely, when the confirmed signal goes down, it tells us to be careful because the market is sort of having a bit of a sell-off, transitioning to the downside. And so what we're going to do today is we're going to look as the market transitioned to the upside. So 1 May 2025. Now, let me go and show you something interesting, and I'll pick on one stock here. So I'm going to go and add a new graph. I'm going to pick on Pro Medicus. So for a lot of our subscribers that have come along to the weekly Q&As, you know that I've been in the stock over the years. And this particular stock here, let's just do this here. I want to show you that, in fact, I'll make it really simple to begin with. Let's just keep it nice and clean. All right, so this is the price. All right, just forget everything else for now. There's the price. This 1 May, that is the timing signal that we calculated based on the overall market. And what we're doing here is we're just going to overlay the overall timing signal onto the stock, because we know on average the stock is going, the market's going up, and therefore if you pick on high momentum stocks, that as the market transitions to the upside, then you would expect those stocks to move up too. You know, rising tide floats most boats, and outgoing tide sinks most boats, right? So let's just, I'll make it nice and simple again. Okay, so let's clean it up. All right, so there we are. So it went from what, 234 to 280. Nice little pop in price. How do we know it could have been a good quality opportunity? Now, again, I can't give you personal advice. I can't tell you what you should or shouldn't do. But what I can tell you is that using that indicator that we spoke about, relative timing, it's on a scale of 0 to 2. So above 1 and rising, it tells us that the momentum of the stock is in your favor. Below 1 and falling, so Pro Medicus had been heavily sold down prior to that. Look what was happening here. The relative timing was starting to fade, lower and lower highs, and down it was going. It broke below 1 here. So at this point here, you know, you really wanted to be careful. It had broken below 1. The price was what, 263. It fell all the way down to 176. So, you know, here you started to see the momentum falling away. And so there you would have been careful. Certainly would have wanted to sort of rush in at that point to buy in. Here you start to see the turnaround on the technical. So here it bottoms out. This is a great time to consider good quality stocks. Now again, I'm not going to tell you whether this is a good or bad quality stock. You know, we can do a lot of analysis on that. All I can say is that it's got pretty powerful earnings, some of the best earnings you'll find on the ASX. But again, I can't advise you. Please speak to your advisor for personal advice. But what I can tell you is the technicals were turning around, the earnings were continuing to hold up. And so therefore, as the momentum started to turn to the upside, in comes our timing signal, our most conservative timing signal. It lights up, technicals are lighting up, and we go from what, 234 to 280. Not bad at all. What was that? 50 cents on 230. What's that? 50 divided by 230. It's 21 odd percent. So it shot up 21% thereafter. So the question then comes down to, and I'll just put the camera for extra effect here. The question then comes down to, well, how do you find those stocks where the technicals are turning around as the market turns around? One way you can do it is you can go through all the different graphs in VectorVest and you can pick on those stocks. But the issue I have with that is it's very time consuming, and I certainly wouldn't have the time to do that. So I'm going to get VectorVest to do the hard work for me. So forget Pro Medicus for now. Let's go and get VectorVest to help us. Would Pro Medicus have been a good one to find? Well, let's find out. And so we have this tool in VectorVest called UniSearch. Now UniSearch it's a fun tool to use because you just click and point and you can find pretty much whatever you want. And I feel like a kid in a lolly shop sometimes, because I have so much choice. What type of stock am I after? And VectorVest will bring it back for me. And so, I'm just limited by, my own choices as such. So what I'm going to say here is I'm going to start off straight off the bat. And so it might be a little bit small to see, and I do apologize. I'll read it out as we go. I'm going to limit the stocks to the ASX 200. So I'm going to come into here. You can apply a filter, and I'm going to say the watch list must equal. And again, if you're new to VectorVest or you're interested, take it a trial. We'll teach you how to do all this. It's not hard to do. Once you've done it once or twice, it's actually really fun and easy to do. So actually, where is it? I need to scroll down to the S&P ASX. There's the 200. So straight away, VectorVest, find me stocks only in the ASX 200. Okay, so straight away we've ruled out all the other stocks, just the big end of town. And if you want to be more conservative, you might say only in the top 50 or the top 100. Again, it's up to you. You could limit it as you see fit. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say to VectorVest, find me stocks where that momentum is breaking out. Remember the relative timing? So remember that again on Pro Medicus, for example, we saw that technical breaking out in a big way. Remember that? So bringing this back on, find me stocks where this momentum on the price momentum, the short-term price momentum indicator here, where it's breaking above 1. So coming back to UniSearch, we'll get VectorVest to do it automatically for us. So I'll say here, relative timing must be greater than, let's say greater than or equal to, up to us, let's say at least 1.1. Now, I'm setting this to being 1 May because VectorVest gave us that timing signal on 1 May. This is where things were starting to break out. Okay, so I'm coming back to you, I'll say on 1 May. If I run the search, straight away, I've got some great stocks here straight away where I've got the relative timing. I'll just auto fit all of them, make it just nice and neat. In fact, you know what? I'll go to my layout. I'm going to restore the defaults because last week we did a lot of work on fully grossed up dividend yield. So I'll just tidy that up a bit just to keep it basic for today. There we are. And let's run the search. I'll just recalibrate it. Here we all go. You don't need all these fields, or you can simplify it as you see fit. I'm just interested in this one here for today. Sure, all these fields are useful, but what I'm saying is for today, you don't need all these fields. Just look at the relative timing. All right, so what I might just do here, just to make it nice and simple for us today, let's go and remove all the other things for now. Okay, so I'll take all that out. And, again, the beauty of VectorVest is that you've got all this functionality and you just pick on what works best for you. All right, so here we are. We're looking at relative timing. Here it is. Okay. Now, just because something's got a score of 1.51 on 1 May, and I go and graph the stock, so have a look here. This will be interesting. Here we are. So here's relative timing. Let's put on the signal where the market turned on 1 May. You were buying a relative timing that was getting pretty heated as it was. And so what you'll see over the years, if I just take off the timing signal and go back, relative timing tends to sort of, I find a lot of the time you get around about 1.5, 1.6, around it, maybe 1.7. Sometimes it can shoot all the way up to 2 and hold 2 for quite some time. But as you start getting up to the top end for some of these stocks, there's a good chance it's going to have a breather. It's kind of like redlining a car. It's sitting at 5,000 or 6,000 RPM. It's running hot. You can't keep running it like that indefinitely. It's not going to be good for the engine, so it'll have a breather. There we are, it has a breather. Then it gets going again, then it has a breather. Then it gets going again. And so looking at this historically, just in recent times, it looks like it was sort of, where was it? It was peaking out around about here, 1.5, 1.6, around about here. So if you're coming in on 1 May, all right, you're coming in around about here on 1 May, and, you're looking to buy in, there's a fair chance that you're kind of buying in close to the peak. Now, as it turns out, it ran from 438 all the way to 531. So you did very well. A little bit of bumpiness, but up it went. but invariably the breather as such came into play. Right, so I would rather find a relative timing where it's moving up below 1 and about to break through 1, like here. Look at that. Up and up and up it comes, then it breaks through. Now you're getting in at a lower level, and now there's probably a better chance that you're going to experience more upside. So here it was, breaking above 1. I'll just take off the signals for now. Up it goes, and then it sort of gets a bit sort of overheated here and has a little bit of a retracement. So that's the sort of the blast off phase as such. What if you could pick up something here where it was sort of beaten up a bit, and then it breaks to the upside? Up it goes. So let's get VectorVest to do it. So what I'll do here is I'll say, all right, let's say a couple of days prior. So let's pick on, say, 7 days prior. Find me relative timing that was below 1. So in this case, I'm going to say less than, because I can. You can put in whatever you want. Less than 0.9. We can experiment, see how it goes. All right. So now we're going to find stocks where 7 days ago it was below 0.9, and then 7 days later, okay, there was a couple of public holidays and weekends in there over Easter. But then, 7 trading days, working days later, relative timing goes above 1.1. All right, and for good measure, not that there were any penny stocks, but I'll just make sure I'm not going to have any penny stocks. So price, adjusting for any splits, stock splits, greater than or equal to $1. How about that? So stocks in the ASX 200 only. Relative timing is moving up. It's broken well above 1. 7 days prior was below 0.9. So it's shot up about 20% since, which means that the stock's in high momentum. It's moving, and it's not a penny stock. All right, here we go. Drum roll. Let's run it. Ta-da. Now, you might look at this and say, oh, hang on, 17 April. That's not quite 7 days ago from 1 May. But if you look, there was a lot of public holidays. I think it was over Easter. There were weekends. So that actually, believe it or not, was 7 working days prior to 1 May. Okay, so here we all are. So we can see, I'll just pull it out a bit. So 17th of April, it was 0.8. 1 May, it's shot up all the way to 1.2. That's the relative timing has moved up in this case here for Pro Medicus by 50%. Surprise, surprise. There it is. So VectorVest actually picked it for you. ResMed went from a relative timing of 0.86. Don't worry about this one for today. We'll just pull that away. We're concentrating on the technicals for now. And so ResMed went from 0.86 all the way to 1.19. So you can see these are breaking out. Look, wow, look at this deep yellow. My goodness, it went from 0.6 all the way to 1.48. This thing was like a rocket ship at that time. It was taking off. It was, the thruster boosts were in full power, and up it was going. That was a huge jump. And you can run your eye down here. You can see, all right, something's happening. These stocks, technicals are starting to move. So what do we have? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Have we got 8 here? All right. Let's test them. So what would they have done? Well, we looked at Pro Medicus. Before we test them, let's look at ResMed. All right, let's put on our timing signal. So there was the latest timing signal. Yep, so it had gone well below 1, so 0.9, rocketed up to above 1.1. In this particular case here, it was 1.19. So it shot up to 1.19. So something was happening. The turbo boosters were turned on. The jet engines were spinning. Something was up. The technicals were moving. And you can see here it went from, 36 all the way to 39. All right, what about that deep yellow one? This was the most impressive, from 0.6 to 1.48. My goodness. That's it's a huge jump. Let's calculate that. What's that? 148 minus 60 divided by 60 times 100. My goodness. 146% increase in the momentum indicator on the technical. So no prizes for guessing what's happening here. This thing is in hyperdrive. And so here, I'll put on, let's put on the signals here. Let's put it on. So there's that turning point. Here you can see 7 days prior, so a couple of days prior, and it goes from, where was it? The technicals, 0.6. And then by the time we identify it based on what we're looking for, there's that 1.48. So there's that 146% return increase in the technicals. Believe it or not, that was 146% rocket up. And so as that kicks in, gives us early indication of the turnaround of the momentum. And so we go from, in this particular case, $1.15 to $1.76 as of 1 July. Very impressive. Okay, so let's do the remaining ones, and then I'll test them just to show you exactly how it all stacks up. All right, so let's do it. Let's bring in the remaining ones here. Okay, so I'll put on the timing signal here, and so you can see. All right, so technicals were below 1, below 0.9, 7 days prior, and Lavisa rocketed up. It turned around, up go the technicals, up goes the share price. Moving on here, Neuron Pharmaceuticals, look at that, below 1, breaks up, holds above, up it goes. Goes from what, $11.80 to over $14. It's fun, right? It's easy to, when you've got the tools there. This was a good one. Breaks well below 1, up it shoots, up it goes. This one here wasn't as impressive, 162 to 170, but still, it's money in the bank as such. GMG, wow, I really like this. Well below 1. These are the sort of ones I really get excited by the most, because it was sort of languishing well below 1, really struggling, and then all of a sudden, boop, someone turns on the hyperdrive engines, in kicks the engine, and boof, okay, that's enough sulking, time to go, whoosh, and up we go, 31 to 34. All right, that's not a bad little pop, but very impressive in terms of technicals. Looks like it's got a bit of momentum in it yet. And look at the increase in this. This is huge in terms of almost exponential how it goes up. 0.65, and then just a couple of days later it rockets all the way up to 1.13. So it like doubles pretty much just in a couple of days, and that's the early catalyst warning as such. 12.37 to 14.34. All right, so let's see how it all stacks up. Let's do the drum roll. Did this work out? So here we are. I'll quick test all. So I think there's 8 in here. And so, was it 8? Yeah, it was 8. Right, I can count correctly. All right, so here we go. Let's look at the most impressive ones. Deep yellow, the pharmaceutical company. There's Pro Medicus. That did 50, 20, 20, 19, 15, 10, 5, 5. Total returns 18.85. Let's compare this. This is the average of the market we're looking at. So the average of the market did just shy of 5%. So we outperformed the market threefold. Let's see here. If I put in, let's compare it to the ASX 200 index, AXJO, right? Pretty well-known index. If you've been in the investing game for a while, if you haven't, might want to jot that one down. AXJO, that's the ASX 200. It's a good one to compare your returns to. Can you outperform the ASX 200? You betcha. 4.86 here versus 18.85. And we did that in the space of all of May, all of June, and now it's July. So pretty much in 2 months. So there was an impressive pop in 2 months. Let's just in wrapping up here, we've got about another 3 or 4 minutes before I want to wrap it up. Let's do one more experiment here. What would happen if we went even lower? So we're going to see if we can get even more explosive breakout. What if we went less than 0.6? And by the time that the market had turned, we're up to 1.1. How about that? I don't know. I'm not sure what's going to happen. Well, as it turns out, no, I'm being too aggressive. You're not going to find any of that. All right. So you go, okay. What about, say, 0.7 then? Let's run the search. Ooh, and look at that. Interesting, right? It just finds deep yellow, and we all know that was one of the best performers. Look at that. It found you a 53% returner. Now, of course, you're not going to put all your money into one stock. That would be reckless, to say the least, without giving you any personal advice. Speak to your advisor for personal advice. But, one stock certainly doesn't make a portfolio. But nonetheless, it cherry picks a very good performer. All right, 0.8. Can we go further? Well, in this particular case, we only get one extra. Let's have a look from 1 May through until present date. Well, it picks a pretty decent one at 15% for a total then return of 34. So it looks like, that 0.9 was the sweet spot. So that's what we did earlier. And so we get the 8 there, which then gives us that 18%. Let's see this. I don't want to go too high on the upside because it starts to overheat around, typically for some of those stocks around about, I'm seeing 1.7, 1.8. Some of them do go all the way up to 2 on the relative timing score. So let's try this. Let's do, why don't we go a little bit lower? I'll just say greater than 1. All right. And so let's see what we've got here. Wow. Now we've got a few more, right? And what I'll do here is I'll just quick test all just to see, out of interest, how this all stacks up. So you get some very explosive ones up here, as we saw. But you got one there that fell away. So you did get one, but 18 winners, only one went down. So that's a pretty good strike rate. So only 1 out of 18 or 17 out of 18 were winners, and so that's impressive. So 12.97 versus 4.86. So what if we just grab, let's say, the top 10? We'll just grab the top 10 only. Well, pretty similar again, coming in at 17%. All right, so food for thought. I'll leave you with this thought. Why not consider, now again, I can't give you personal advice, but why not consider the next time the market gets its down signal, which it'll come at some point because it comes in cycles. So next time the market gets its down signal, wait until the next confirmed up signal. So as it takes place, because this will come again, and you can go back in time and look at when different cycles took place. This is proving to be a pretty decent cycle. But, like there, for example, you could have done it. And so the next time we get that confirmed up, why not go to VectorVest and say, right, limit my stocks to the ASX 200, find me stocks where the relative timing is, say, 1.1, greater than 1.1. When that green signal kicks in, find me the stocks that were beaten up prior at 0.9 on the technicals, and make sure you don't return any penny stocks. Run the search. And then you can be informed for some pretty powerful stocks to look at. Now, what we have done today is once we found these powerful technical breakouts, we've sorted these stocks by VST. And so that gives us the best combinations of fundamentals and technicals. All right. So we're overlaying further analysis, ensuring further technical and fundamental screening criteria takes place. And so that's why I was hiding this one today. I don't want to inundate you with information overload, but this is this indicator here, VST. And again, you want this to be as high above 1 as possible. So if you're more conservative, you might have said, well, this one's good, that one's not too bad at 109, and this one's pretty good. This on a scale of 0 to 2, above 1 is good. Getting a bit sort of borderline here. Maybe I'll just consider these ones here. And so what you could have done is then just considered these ones, and so there are your top 4 rather than the top 8, and look at that, it gives you just that little bit extra edge. Why? Because not only have you had the fundamentals working in your favor, technicals working in your favor, you've also had the fundamentals working in your favor. See how powerful that is? And so you can combine both fundamental then with technical analysis. Hope you've enjoyed today, and hit the like button, subscribe to our channel. And make sure you go and watch, if you're into franking credits and dividends, go and look at last week's presentation. I hope you enjoyed it. What I'll do here, let's just bring it up one last time here. Bear with me, I'll just bring it onto the screen and then move my camera over. There we are. If you need to contact us, Russell Markham at VectorVest.com. All right, so thanks again for coming along today. I hope you got a lot out of it, and we will see you same time, same place next week. Hope you enjoyed it, Until next time, bye for now.